Oh, all right. Half a day, buenas dyan, saludo para todo do si Maneco, winigi programan Marianas Agupa. Ang Sabado talos de Fadelos ginin oran alas 9 gaygan, stay oran alas 11. Udang kululu na kulo para todo do samzo ni Maneco, winigi 100.3 FAMA. Ritutubos tigi on senmid na kapasidad elektrisidad gayri, jomadu gana papa tinian luta dyan para todo si Maniluta gwenaw gidza Island Guam, para manggaygi gidza Honolulu, California, Oregon, Washington State, Idaho, imanggaygi gidza Arizona, Texas, dyan si Brother Henry gidza Florida, parin Metka, todo si familia gwenaw, manggaygi lokwi gidza Washington, in Filipita, todo do samzo. Good morning, half a day para todo do samzo. Buenas. Wala, zata fansigi mo nagwini. Sumukan iprogramata. Sa bonito na niya Fanelos. Abrit dia 12, 2025. Después de mapanyagon Hesus Kristo. Isinya man malifait na isay na tana sa hululo, gili na alata. Ta sustenid, gi trongkon kalaskas pagod na Sabado. Wala, zata fansiga mo nagwini sumukan. Datanay no ki andang kulo na si Jesus Masi isigenti siya na humuhugwi programan Marianas Agupa anonymous donor si Jesus Masi maski 17 anyos na katsu mo na programan Marianas Agupa. Lokwe ti siya man malifait na Diabetes Prevention Foundation. Dong kulo na judo gini programata Taber Foundation lokwe. Uno na mas futsudo ini programata si Jesus Masi. DylanTaber.com. Alright? Si Jesus Masi. Wala. Pagod at tanay lokwe sa dudo humuhugwi time check. May mapatumagis tigin ni Bravo Pharmacy and Wellness Center. Wala tanaw itong este. Alright. Wala. Natapan sige mo na gini. Kung saan nigi, Afanelos time check at 9:02, gipresente pago. May mapatumagin ako gini ni Bravo Pharmacy and Wellness Center time check. Sa mga man malefa, bisita watu garapan, kagman o sinuenwebo na ramas gisa dandan. Alright, Bravo Pharmacy and Wellness Center na para un refill ya mood mo. Mga man malefa neno. Alright? Mas mala, natafansigya mo na gini. Alright, pues mala data pansigya mo nagwini data nailo kwe donkulo na saludo i Joten Market sa department stores celebrating 76 years of serving the people of the CNMI. Natalang mo suste. The people of the CNMI. Shop, local shop, Joten, sa talang nusfan este. I-klema para po ako na Sabado. Apanilos parogay gigi 84, na pogay gigi 2 pago. Gagano pago gi parogay gino nagradua gila una gitaluani. Matutsinya gitingting. Pare na ora 84 hunggan i mandang sungita maski 71% na pagagi gweno. Imanglo gininhadza logo lutsan pa gunahani. Después sa redondea isla gi 12 millas gi ora. Inigeno na klema na mafatumageno gini ni Joten Market sa department stores. Talo, mga man malifa, celebrating 76 years of serving the people of the CNMI. Shop local, shop Joten. Isa ni gino panilos na mala, data pansiga mo na gini. Rada talang nuslo kwesti hinihigwesti loki programata na Garapan Public Farmers Market, mga man malefa, manggay gipresente pa ako mabababa, di siya Metcount Lanceria, na man mafafata, lamig ay siya na man magulik, manggay gialom i-chill, man ma-free freeze, lokwe, gwa siya fresco siya na gulay, lapago na haani sabalo, pus manggay giya, ilan siruta, na fumafata lokwe, iman fresco siya na kiniset sa nilan so apanilos gisan tati, gaya gue si Steven dan si Benny kumusiya i manihanti gue Metcao mala data ajuda man fresco siya na tinatinas i taw-tawta gininigwalo jan gwa di siya magang value added man mafatinas esta ready para unsagi pago na hani loke sa pigumaygi i public health para gwa si vision clinic, mobile clinic, di Garapan Public Farmers Market. Okay, gayigi fishing base. Pus bisita wato din sagya do siya. Na sabi ko papa, sa sinya man malatsay di man fresco na gulay dyan man mangi siya na finatinas i manaw-tawtay sti. Loko, kumatitinas sti. Mga man malifaneno. Alright, pus bisita wato talo i Garapan fishing base. Wala, datapan sige mo na gini sa Guadalupe no importante na talang no sisti izangin guaha problema ni air conditioning karitamo si Aimee gagigitatin i hagas tarusu Garapan Ace air conditioning gagigisan tatigwi aluma gwi dun sa ngani si Aimee na unhungong esti na mensahe gini ni programan Marianas Agupa sa siguro do afanyelos na sempre mano ihaw discount siya iaturidad manaligran air conditioning winigi islan sa ipan. Alright, po sa kapansigya mo na sumukan este. Zangin bumiyahe papa luta unuha na sinya un senti i sinintin tano zangin bumiyahe papa luta saga di Colo Garden Rota Hotel mga malifanela. Alright. Pues mala data pansigya mo nagwiniloki sa gwa mensahe ginin i natibonmarianas.org utanteste ipinaktikan hila na nata Anaysinya untungo mas ginin ito po niya tulorenos 15 anyos manukan maski siento na taw-tawta man masapin po este itsetsu dictionary sa moro anunsyo. Alright. Mga mabalay paninaw, kumo si Dr. Liz Rehede, kumabisa sa di grupo, buda siya gwi aktibidad, na man mafafata. No, uno ha, daw na may napanmanungan do nagwahan notisya lokwe, na siya inefekta i programan i Northern Marianas Humanity, pati na pundo lokwe, Mina posisibli i diksenaryon sa muro ginin eno na kwek po. Gapon eno na rason na pwede ha. Ipinaysan niya si Delegate Kimberly King Hines na isinya nalutati fondo na isinya hakontinua gwi programa. Programan i kulturata ginin edo na kwek po i Northern Marianas Humanity. Alright? Mula siya man masusi si Digitano na ha-effecta i kinalamping linala Toto Marianas. Alright, po sinige no na importante tapansigya muna. Siya man malify loke, datanay loke daw kuno na saludo i Chris, Northern Marianas Chris, NMC Chris. Naisigya mo na manapaha este i linala biddi mo na Green Growth Initiative na parata praktika kululo niya na itibula tanungutag ini tetinan para pangwaluan zazangin praktika i regenerative agriculture sinya mas umentaje mo na ipangwaluan so ta komprendiya na 97% 97% sa dipepindit gi hinalum fectus siya dyan ning kano na gininlago ginin masya maono na lugar 3% ha ta produdusi gwini o sige no na pwede ta istiresti na hinanaw da mas antsu i mansiya man produsi hit ning kanota dyan guaha ira zesta talilia na guaha siya ta susesidi gwini gihalatsa panielos na importante na para ta na kana pan sufficiente hit ning kano sa low farm, low food mga man malifan eno ligay daw na palabra talalang nusunong ginin i quit pun i CAFPA i Kangman Agricultural Farms and Producers Association. Alright, the manggayga i boys talo gi papa gi fishing base mga man malifa pinseg wato. Alright, po sinige no i NMC Chris nang mas importante paron o interes mo paron sagid siya na pinaktikan lanseria i Green Growth Initiatives and i Regenerative Agriculture. Agang si Dean Patricia Coman, sino si Jesse Leon Guerrero 237 no 6840 mga mamalifan nila. Alright? I-Chris, Northern Marianas College Chris. Saludo para todos imang gaigig, no? Sa tapansigya mo na, Gwini. Ito ko mata. I like banana. Course banana has no bone. Okay. Mas bala, sa tapansigya mo na, Gwini, Apanielos. Senige. I-8, Gwini. Waloki uno na noibo. Kumatsui programata i-Plumeria Restaurant. Steve, na listo i-breakfast right now. So, siyempre, by startup by. Mga man malefa naman mangi siya loki na breakfast gi Plumeria Restaurant, Garapan. Gaya gi across i Bank of Guam. Alright? Mangi kafe niya sa barato i breakfast. Lunch dyan loki. Steak dinner siya man mafafata. Alright? Sini gino panilos, igay gigikatan, garapan. Idus masi nino Steve. Jang. Na mangi kafe, simpi maptu katan. Alright, pus mala data fansigi mo nagwini sa guasunto wini. Para ta diskuti na high-tech type, pag na sabalo. Okay, finini na. No, dong kululesti na informasyon, ipanatalang nos pago na sabalo. Manata redusa esti sunido isang tatin este. Okay, finini na kulo para esti siya sigenti na man masilibra ihanin mapanyagun niya. Wini na si Mana, finini na si Bree. Si Bree, Brittany, Brandy, Mindiola, Tobis, si Brandy, si Brianna, Taisakan, Mindiola Taisakan, si Jenna Babauta Lokwe, happy birthday kulo Jenna, si JJ Ataw, Gus Litulumor, Hagulokwe, happy birthday kulo, para si Jovi Taimanyaw Lokwe, Gislan Guam, si Rick Taimanyaw, Kurikat, si Senator Ron Kaumo Lokwe, Vinina Simona, si Vincent Pangilinan, happy birthday kulo, Jerome Sablon, Nanginumeku Kao, Jeffrey Tumakani Loki, Pagunaugan Neno ni Humalum, Herman Sablon, alright, Marvin Munya, Gwenogigad mo na Islan Guam. Naging gwagweno no Lokwe siya unjot ti halong winigi programata siya Lokwe tana. Ikakat halong wini. Alright. Guahan webo na fan atusis ti afanelos electronic video streaming. Kulo para si idota chief engineer si Dan Granasias the no trabia ti udadances ni siya by next week I'm gonna master este nuevo na streaming system. Thank you Dan for staw lilia lo ti humuhuzong trabia gi nepo quality videos and audio lo pwede imamela na sabalo siya mas mauling muna. Lo pago na si Mona Fanielos kwasya man masusesidi. Don kulesti umaatod gana madud gana halom masusedi gi Washington mafata mogi isabli. Zanging wasabli ma stira. Zanging ginatsa haw na isabli ginin Washington. Sinya hat seklan haw. Tagwena esti na potenya esti na sabli masusesidi. Wasya maulik na direksyon, gwa siya nina fanggugunggung itaw to. Law, ihaf maulik, zangin ng beneficyo manotaw ta sa manggaygi gi mas tsogugo na lugar, gi entaloy mas tadadong na tosi, tsogugo na manggaygi siya, bombam gasolina, hindi na hagagasa, ta lalang nusuzong wini. Za, uno esti na zaw bay lang nusuzong na gwini na Simona, no ano na masya titalili beneficyo trabia law mandadagdag putta si Delegate Kimberly King Hines. Importante na tatan sa kada putta sa dagdag di logo matutungo half sinisididi tagwini mono na mansitsing lungit. Dagwini na si Mona mandagdag putta sa mababazi masuda talo ng Interior Secretary si Burgum. Za pwede ipinaisen niya si Delegate King Hines o fattuwitsi niya para mafoksi mo agi zangin sinya mafoksi mo agi di tagwini na karera tatungwa nagwasya Lokwe biradan niya administrasyon na para panmautod serbisyo sa manwa dito sangan humanities da lamigay gwini siya otro na serbisyo man pampapara climate smart siya na programa ay titikta lugat ta gwini dahil siya na gratis iman kukuna na fuzong gini ni climate smart man pampara guwazo siya na programa manmanana oportunidad timan propio talok first class na Amerikano unggan man manggagita na staw mangguguti pasaputi law tayo gigitsinya para tapan gagigid sa hululu di mampareo na hinanaw dyan propio na Amerikano ta comprende no da dibita ta panyot alis no sa inigi na familia na manggagihit tatugtog familia na Amerikano kumu manhita gi asuntun politika pareo na disesya na kinalamping nilala za inigi tapit sisigi muna za put tadza militatta tadza taw-tawta na isinya ta defendin may sahit isinya hit manggaygi para tafan mama payri pos dibita panyod alis za ta comprende na ha hinanawta solo ta tulay ka posisyon niya familiata zan federalis za utre no na diniskuti itasasangan pago ulo za utro biyahe no na tasige mas mulasay no kau para tapan sasaga gwinin na staw o sino ko taatan utro na sinya gumawa mas puwetsata nangin mana pandanya siya taw-taw gi urizata o sino ko sinya manhita zan utro na state hindi siya buneno siya na sultuno polo za utro biyahe no na tadiskuti. No gipresente pa ako gitaywini na hinanaw na esta kana 50 anyos sit naman Amerikano manggagay kita gwina staw iparatafan manggogo. Mayla sa istigi. Ja lokwi galibes niya no. Gwa lokwi no gwaha paradota esta munajan itratus mafilma. Jaiji na parada dong kululuzo gi taywini na hinanaw esta ichino yung banda talilia na hana panmimidgut siya militar Amerikano gizagi Islampinian pud rason nagwaha sinya manutta gi bisino Korea, North Korea o sino gita China. Zainigi na inigi paradata ita parada maski 17 hektarya na tono gi Islampinian gwa siya taparada giza imas manggikatan siya na isla za dongkululoy no para naparada gi dididi na tawtaw idididi na paradata dongkululoy no gi parahita us debilokwi umaatan no na we have to make a deal dyan ta federal government debita fan deal dyan ni gobernamento ng Amerikano kasi nigi law at the end of the day dinadansya dibya tafan taksipta hafa man manaita no tagagawji moni sinya denigi nasige mandagdag muna si Kimberly King Hines da pwedya ito siya naputay mababawji hababawji loki mas oportunidad dyan salan na sinya isulidanon tawto Marianas manlala gwinigi komplikaw na hinanaw ekonomiya na itapis gipresente pago ta susesidi zabula kompetensya giuriza siya giza mas giepapa siya na isla gualopi siya giza Palau mau prefisi siya dongkulo na lugar za nasyon matutsinya gigwa presidente niya Palau sinya matatsong dyan si President Trump gi halumi Oval Office matutsinya gweno lohita manggagay kita gwi debita fanhanaw to gi as Bergam. Dejigi na mababawji putta pago si Kimberly King Hines. Izot delegate. Zaginin enaw sinya si Governor Palacios Loque. Direktamente guato gi as Bergam. Kumugwidza si Doug Bergam is Secretarian Interior Department. Za sinya Loque mapuksiji maugi hop na nisisidad ta nisisita po di tratus na esta munazan taparada inigi nagaygi po sata esta man mamaraday za tananangga zu hulo hafa beneficio ta para muna za dong kululweno na parada i tanain niya yun. Mas kilamitagi islang tinian, mas sangkatan siya na isla dyan sa tanapat na no bantalan tuduhudong. Kasi nigi eno siya apelyidos na parada ita sa sanga. Kaugwaha oportunidad na desisyon si President Trump iha tsugi pud i tariff. Basta sige muna halang nusuzong. Law estia inigat niya na hani na ha pause. Iling yan nanganodza. Sofa sa matutsinya gwi gidza ihumudzong wini ginigap na haani na todo do ihaguguti i nasyon Hapon. Habindi tati todo di siya na treasury bonds ihafahan. Zahad umanok na taybali esta. Dong kulun taza balinya esta US Treasury bond gitagwini na hinanaw da pues enigi uno na pattenaw gi desisyon na nangga. Olep daling nga nangga za biratati za i China ha na po kontinua i tariff. Ofeno kumikiling niya no sinya ha guahay no kumikiling niya panahitag wini. Sinya ito siya na kumpanya manggaygi mangguaha kabo niya sa China. Sinya ha moibi siya mogig wini. Sa puligwago ni tariff ginin China para US. Sa sinya may establish wini. Di business niya wini sa Marianas ipapaedzo na autoridad i head note 3A law nangga sa guahay no lukwi alibes niya. Wina tempo anay sige mo na muna managwaha pagtirian garment gwini nibgo dedzo na seksyon na di bandan ST tariff di head note 3A sa kita kumontrotro gwi minimum wage. Lo pago zani immigration hita kumontrotro. Lo pago nesta US government kumontrotro zo pos sinya hat ti gefbali zo taybali za talilia esti bisinuta gi islan guam nagwaloki maatan na parofan mangumbida go ato no kumpanya siya neji iman para mausa i islan guam para nafan atot siya parts o sino masyahap na klaseng kosas puno menos mga na upos i 70%. Zadebi puno menos 30% umausa i Fitsan Islan Guam kumo ezigi guato na masembo 30% na sinya ilihibli gezi head note 3A. Logi pareho na diniskuti ita fatasasangan na put igwagwan i labor. Sinya ha ti humana na wena na dinisea. Useni geno taatan ti pareho za ni man mapos ya na tempo na hita kumontrotro za barato gina tempo i minimum wage Tilacio $2.15 logi presenti pa ako na $7.25 minimum wage. Duda zo kau laksi mogi na businesses siya ipausa i CNMI o sino Island Guam. Pud rason nagwagwan i minimum wage. Pus parewa pero di gwagwan i minimum wage gwini para ufan na halum para import wato sa United States watalo transportation costs pues sinya ha tiha na panggof laminate masya mahatsay no na tariff pues wahay no siya kumikilig niya gwini iumpat ti gwini na ipitalipara sa sino tibula sa lapita gwini sangkatan na isas Marianas anay tumunog todo do i balin i Metcao anay hana tagkilo si President Trump i import tariffs siya tumunog malingo i stock market ang tilacio kana 400 punto i Metcao malingo maski 10% eno gi paron na panatud sino na balin i izomo stock pos puditaja sa lapita gwini naisinya man invest it, ilipino niya na tumunog i-medkao presyo niya. Gufsi niya, loki man mamonit, winih law. Bulana naman ang tauta, man gaygita, gini, man namasit, isinya man mamatinasit sa loki. No, iji man gaygi siya sa Amerika na man midson sa lapi niya, no, gihalom undiya ha, 2 días, di man mamon, man mamatinas, midson san guahaji bidson. Sigun gi informasyon na hujong gini, di anay mahatsa na para si Trump i hana pos, za habira tati, za tawag za tariff na pare pumalo siya, za China ha. Guaji siya man mamatinas bidson na sa lapit, di along 2 días sa. Sa mafan, anay tumunong i-presyo ni stock, anay kumahulo, man mama bidson pesos. Lo, yan di best niya, no, walo kay, maatan na siya tokay payri, safa, sa guasya sa ngoni. Sa maagang insider trading, tabili, pagong gigiseta, manhuzo, na siya gua investigasyon po din, sa pisinya nun sogwe, Lo, irasol na tasasangan gwini sa kumumon man guys sa lapi, tauta, hanggang siya gua gwini gislata man imbekti. Ipagif to kumbendi, lo, nanging gua, pus dongkulo sa temo, Lo, minigay na gizaita tinahong kapitat na isinya time beti no 200,000 pesos para tapan mamon Tesla stocks. Da po din na rason siguro na isinya loki para tapan huigo na siya na business. Lo, inigi man masuses si dia fanelos pago na haani lo. At isa di ba naway sigwela gatete. Wag din importante belang nusuzong nagimadzo May 3rd guahasti na programa na ninafatuto dyan ginin i-KAFPA Kagman Agricultural Farms and Association i-Sabalo Market na po magaygesti sa dongkulo na saludo para siya coordinate esti si Representative Congresswoman Marisa Flores, JM and Associates, Kiara's Gift Shop, Governor's Office, Lieutenant Governor's Office po Managwayas maagang Saipan Orchid Show. Para magkaiginaw gi May 3rd, 2025, ginin i-oran alas 8:30 hasta i-oran alas 10:30. Sa siya na imo-organisa Don Kululu na Judo, Jem Guerrero, Des Javier, Yoki Kami Kashimoto, Lieutenant Governor's Office, Barbara Sablan, ginin Sinamay Women's Affairs, dyan si Representative Marisa Flores, Don Kululu na Kulo para Hamzo, sa Paraguay na Orchid Show, para pang kompetensya siya Hajiman Malago Mansauno, gini. First place winning presyo $250. Posible ginin Kiara's plus $25 gift certificate from Kiara Gift Shop. 1 hour massage from the Women's Affairs Office. Second place, $150 plus $25 ginin GC from gift certificate from Kiara's Gift Shop. Third place, $100 plus gift certificate from Kiara's Gift Shop. Inigit siya na category. Pues, importante na yung pansaunaw sa ngingwa mas interes no pud no agang guatu i-organizer sino agang guatu EJM and Associates 2346959 sa inrehistram zo. Gualocate price siya for public guests, tabletop fly repellent fans worth $10, ginin as Mary Ann Calvo, gwa siya gift certificate, ginin ni Ace Hardware t-shirts, gift certificate, ginin ni Gento Brew Cafe, 2 dozens of a pigigi, ginin Sanko sa pigigi, Sandra Sablan, 1 gift certificate, talo ginin ni Saipan Plant Center, gift certificate worth $25 ginin JM Nursery, 1 dozen assorted health juices ginin Saipan Juice, Kiara Gift Shop Lokri talo, Nigi siya na gifts, presyo, no, they will register how? The barato i-registration $2 per person. The limit, the tres na orchid para na halong the category per registrant. Okay? So, agang talo, 2346959 so registra o sino agang wato? Ano wato din siya gidos na manager? Di Sabalu Farmers Market Garapan. Antes di fatto esti Mazo dia 3. Rehistram do sa limited space za dong kululu i presyo. Okay, para i-organizers dan i-donors dong kululu na kulo. Gini ni programan Marianas Agupa Lokwe. Todo ya judo nen ano na importante tanat zamuna na i-fangwaluan para ta produce ning kanota. Za esti pattes ti pangwaluan za masya Flores, law inigi tinitomnyas ti siya itasasangan gini. Alright? O sa bonito nagafanda tali ko gagwa gini kulo da tatsuli i world news di anmonodjan walo kay bisitata gyaro na las 10 parado siya na famagun farmer to farmer next generation of farmers gini ni Northern Marianas College Natural Resource Program may giniluluy as Mark Pangilinan Yerlahi Pangilinan the simple man adingan nit giora na las 10 loke an monajan si Guela agate ti halang no siya gay galang kitod niya pwede manita dan si Brother Henry Atalik na sinya loke ha diskuti di por lo menos 5 minutos por adyo siya na manautauta ihamoy siya para Amerika. Irason zan half loki na linala masusuda gilogo za taatan ikomparasyon ilinala gilogo zan gwini gislata. Sa hunggan, importante na ta komprendi loki half lini niya di siya maniluta gilogo ko mas anso linala ko mas salan linala. Aso ay no iparewe na ikaw ansoy lilala kogwahat salan linala. Alright, pues mala da tanolomit si duta finini na siguela gatete za na bisbis pago na sabalo buenas siguela gatete.
Hey Glenn, buenas para hago. Lani Glenn, sabia kalanu kakana azo gi airi gi United Airlines sa pago agi sa tanmang na mafatuzo lao sinimbat ko animo zo na parabay ko na posible i-programan esti Marianas Agupa pago na sabalo. Buenas todos hamzo ni manay kungo gwinigi Marianas Agupa konversasyon finut sa moro gininisangkatan siya na islas sa iban tinian luta principalmente imamis zanggagbo na islang Guahan. Loque con todo Estados Unidos zan maseha amano na lugar ni tumatiti este na programa. Half a day para todos hamzo pago na sabalo. Sigente siya na mensahe gihalo mi ketot puro siya notisya estige para imanggaygi gwini siya giza igislang Guahan. Ginini Departamenton Salud Publiko dyan Serbisyon Sosyal. Estiha itutuhon i-abrid na mes i-departamento hakumbida i-general publiko para selebrasyon i-public health and social services entero pago na mes gi-abrid. Tutuhon ni seremonias imafirma proklamasyon gi-abrid dia 4 guatu gi kwatun konferensya gi Adelop Governors Complex. Guiza este na okasyon iman marekognisa todo adzo siha na empleyado pareho ha mediko o sino otro klasifikasyon official tsotso ni man manajujuda munagwaha adilantun ihinemlo taw-taw gwini giza Guahan. Loqui i departamento para uno tamas programa para ipubliko jam put para una van manungoy publiko hafa man masusesidi jan inapefekta mas ibandan hinemlo gihalom i komunidad. Programa ni man sen importante para itaw-taw ta siya gwinigizagwan tat kikomo i tuberculosis bisesti mafananan TB, Hansen disease control, special supplemental program para famalawan neni jan mediano siya na famagon bisesti mafananan i WIC program jan i child protective services jan mega loke otro siya na programa ni manggay minaulik para todo itaw-taw gwinigi islangwahan. Durante este abril na mes, bula siya aktibidad man maprepara para ufang participaw itaw-taw siya. Para mas informasyon, sinya un email watu ipao at dphss.guam.gov. Y otro, pudi Summer EBT sa Eskwela 2024, eligibility claim deadline. Loque i Departamentong Salud Publiko jan Serbisyon Sosyal. Anunon siya na nigap Abril dia 11. Ultimo ni para uma-entrega halom i-claim jangging kwalifikaw i-estudyante gi EBT na programa. Familia ni ma supone na ifamagunyiha mang kwalifikaw para i-school year 2024 summer EBT na benepisyo za trabia timari sisibi pues debi mohon umasan mitinigap na dia. Todo benepisyo summer EBT, siempre ultimo sinya umausa gisabalo Abril 19 para todo famagon ni mang kwalifikaw za trabia ti matutsuli izunia card o sino ti matu nagwaha sa lapi gihalumi card ni sinya umausa. Benepisyo siya para i-school EBT isigenti siya. Estudyante siya ni man marihistra Zama attendi eskwela ni pumatisipapao gi National School Lunch Program gini ni Julio dia 1, 2023 hasta y agosto 21, 2024. Lo que pamagun edad 5 años hasta 18 años ni timan marihistra gi NSL SBP na eskwela lao maparticipapaw gi Supplemento Nutrition Assistant Program mafananan ni SNAP o sino Temporary Assistance for Needy Families Program gini ni Julio dia 1, 2023 hasta agosto 21, 2024. Gipresente jangging guaha EBT card para ipadgon pues tungo na esta mana jiji salapi di Disyembre dia 20, 2024 zasinya mausa para ipadgon. Necesaryo na 5 anyos ipadgon para kwalifikaw gwini na programa. Janggin menos ida tisinya mana jiji ni 177 pesos na benepisyon sa lapi. Pago para i-head start na programa, ifamaguon mangkwalifikaw janggin esta 5 anyos, jaha attendi eskwela ni pumatisipapao gi Nutrition Lunch Program, jan SBP, ginin i Julio dia 1, 2023 hasta agosto 21, 2024. Janggin sa kaso na taza card mo para ipadgon mo, sinya o fan requesta gi Opisina ni Departamentong Salud Publiko ng Serbisyon Sosyal Marine Drive Core giza tamuning. Lunes esta Benes, ginini oran alas 8 giegan, istay oran alas 4:30 gi taluani. Para más información, hagan el Bureau of Economic Security y teléfono 671-727-2038. Managua loko'y espesyal na okasyon, i-Health Awareness Fair gi Micronesian Mall Center Court. Di bandiha para toro'y tawtaw, put para uhatsuli mas informasyon, benepisyo, zan otro na serbisyo siya, put para adilanto mas ihinemlo tataw-taw niya. Ma-administra programan dulok sinago para mangkwalifikaw na edad man amku siya. Para mas informasyon, agang Departamenton Salud Sosyal dan Serbisyong Publiko Food Immunization Program gi telefon 671-735-7143 o sino 7130. Otro Semana Santa para kita todos ginigizagwahan dyan iza Marianas. Na siguro na yung sakripisya hamzo dididi gwini gi tempong Koresma. Happy Easter para todos hamzo. Estihan na mensahe para pago na Sabalo si Zusmasi puri atensyon midso manek ngog. Gwini gi Marianas Agupa Conversación Finut Zamoro. Gwini gi uniko na estasyon radio FM 100.3. Adios todos.
Alright, berito mo guys. Si Gwela Agatete, si Dusma si Gwela Agatete. Bonito mo guys sa utungwa na istia sa tagmang na mafato gini ni Lanso. Na Bravo how. Basta ki manaso day talo. The lokwi. Di matto gi magay law tungwa nagagig korason mo si Dolores Santa Maria, no?
Unggan na yan.
Sa sangan na at kadi maya formal niya Inos Nuestra de Dolores.
Unggan gwizay na promesan yan songgaw kadasakan za no tihuri para tiempo za unggan magad umis sa gipaingin na manggupot gano giza sa ipan tampoco giza luta lao este las 4 atrasauzo. Estelas 4
na madispensaw na si Santa Maria dinispensaw. Sa gwalo ki importante inanaw mo. Alright, po si Diyos Masi.
Si Diyos Masi.
Alright, kami si Gwela Gatetia Panilos. Bininigad po na islan Aguaham sa mala. Zata pansiga mo na. O daw, maulumit si Luta Brother Henry Atalik. Ginin Florida. Di oran 9:50 pago na Sabalo. Alright, pues malak data pansiga mo na gini. Alright. Para todos a siya igual interes niya man sa uno programata, esta tilachi o na esta idota landline. 234-5929. Okay, pues malak data pansiga mo na gini. Panaupan Destinación Unido después tabira tati gi programan Marianas Agupa. Pananggay di bisitata Nuevo next generation of farmers of the CNMI gi oran alas 10. Pago si lay giniluluya Smart Pangilinan. Life is ginin Northern Marianas College siyempre. Gi oran alas 10 po sa kananangga si Brother Henry. Panaupan Destinación Unido, da después tapansige mo nagwinigi programan Marianas Agupa.
My property has 3 layers of slopes.
Hello, Senior Glenn.
So I have the
Alright, mana zata pansigi mo nagwini tanahalong si Mark Pangilinan, Mark Terlahi Pangilinan. Winigi programata za introduce programa the next generation of farmers, natural resource group gini ni Northern Marianas College bala tanaw nam si Mark that
luckily because I'm
okay, hold on Mark.
having strong winds.
All right, there you are. Buenas. Can you hear me?
Enggan. Bunga.
Enggan. Okay. It's okay malang siya po minut sa muro Mark.
My rainfall is
Sini betul kan?
Siya sa muro English no?
Kamu udah in English bang.
Okay. It's okay Mark. Thank you for
and
continuing to inspire other students, natural resource students, agricultural students, to be the next generation of farmers, producers
my
in the
focus
CNMI because we have very limited pool of local people.
I would
Earlier I was mentioning that
we have
data have shown that we have 3% production, 97% of imported goods for a 49,000 population. So your group, tell us about your group and what's happening today first. Okay, hold on. Okay, unmute. Go
Okay.
ahead and unmute.
Expenses. After
Okay.
this, bro, English man now. Was si Mark Talay Pangilinan. So today we're currently engaging in our manners garden installation workshop. So the purpose of this workshop is to open an opportunity to the community and students alike to get their hands dirty, develop their green thumbs, and just address certain key issues in agriculture that we feel aren't properly addressed within our community and the nation as a whole. And sort of just try and bridge the gap between our knowledge of agriculture between different generations. We're currently on our second presentation today. Dr. Yunzi Zhang is giving a little talk about her experience with tropical agroforestry. And she was a recent participant of the Mama Food Forest program, which saw participants gaining knowledge in how to farm traditionally and locally as the islanders have had for thousands of years within the Pacific, namely focusing on natural remedies such as you know using natural mulch, not using chemical fertilizers, focusing on bridging the natural forest line with our food plots, and ensuring that we just have a sustainable line of food for years to come. And they're currently going on with that presentation right now. We have other presentations moving forward throughout the workshop, but anyone in the community is welcome to come down to the college. We're located in room B215. You're welcome to come in and out. And around the lunch hour, we will be performing hands-on garden improvements to the NMC campus garden.
Okay. At 10:30, one of our board member, Mr. Joseph Castro, who's the secretary for the Farmers Association, he will be there to give a little pep talk to the students and what the association can provide, share some knowledge of his own in terms of the way he farmed and the way he plans and maybe little things that can help the future farmers of the CNMI. And thank you, Mark, for being the more or less the lead in the student group. Pursuing your education in farming is something that you'll be proud of. I heard that you're leaving to pursue further education. You're furthering your education in natural resource, and hopefully you can be back and assist our people, because we cannot, if our present pool of farmers, if we all die, or and who's gonna produce? So that's the importance of having the next generation of farmers. And
por favor,
debita impart and nagi famagun siya. Hamzo sabi we have to rely on Hamzo na.
No place like home. No matter how far we go to get our education, we always have to come back.
Yeah. I'm glad na padyo undi na importante sa kwanto gipresente Hamzo na group na kwanto na student medji totota. Na manggayi pa uli NMC.
Pogo ni kulan tres na presentasyon pogo na este na segundo pogo si Dr. Yunzi Zhang. Después na si di presentación niya ni Izota maestro ginimogi si Dr. Wilson Go. Izoku mentor ni. Pues pues tuto ni gini alas 11 nui paano ni kumentos pari kafpa lanceros and lancera gina ni komunidad ni.
Okay. Pues moli kinolo. Kwanto na estudyante yung estimate? Is that rough estimate? May manggaygi ka no, gibanda natural resources na
Yun yung
na
natural
field.
resource management. Paugo
Kung
ni
na
bulan 30 pa di 40 paugo ni.
okay, pues está bonito no.
Mm.
Kalan na numero lopi di Farmers Association. Manamko siya na producers. About 43 representative pues more or less kalan tagya no na numero sa pwede amso siyempre no wala dyan medyo program para in-extendi papa luta dyan tinian.
Oh, nisisita naman extendi gidza ni lutan san tinyan lo siyempre sala na mas dikiki ni programa na gina ni natural resource management paugo ni lo Macet ni no pandang ko they're still trying to extend make it a little bigger now and then, but you know we're still sort of starting up now.
And then natural resource no it's a program under in Northern Marianas College no hindi the class in Tsitsigwi no.
Lo gini ni sentera ni gizay sa ipan paugo ni.
Okay, pues after next move after finishing Northern Marianas College with the natural resources. Naso mono
Dispersed na North Marianas be hanno gizay San Lago nui special ni Pullman Washington by betutuo ni eskuelan Washington State University parizoko bachelor's pues tutuo ni Gina master's programa ni betulaka gizay doctorate ni.
Okay. Pues often na feel di unatan di bandan pangbaluan.
Organic and sustainable agriculture dan ni forest ecology.
Okay. Yung planin niya pumbiro tapi gilugat ta ano no.
Ayan nandiyan.
Lumajan ng todo. Okay. No guaha program gi Chris sinya maajudaw gi scholarship. Umalumaw gi.
No scholarship no kuwai din next gen scholarship gidza
Next gen.
anyos 2024 lo anay tutun na administrasyon niya si Donald Trump gidza gisan lago matsatsak ni todo na programa ni no sa DEI gidza next gen ni so toza na ni sa lapin ni gidza next gen po ni.
Okay, pues sige siya high effect type alright, pues pwede no guamas ajudo para hogo sa ta continue este para ta amzo na next generation of farmers and producers and experts in the production of food. Amzo sempre kumaris ni mo na responsibility. So you're still you can Guagweno para na kwentos di medyo group Pago to do a little overview of the new experience Pago na ugan. Talago po na kwentos sa atin no, so we still have time.
Malago po na kung na presentasyon Pago gidza gyalom ni klase.
Okay, pues na seta yung mo camera that we can get you on the background, no?
Yes.
All right, pues just stand by there. We'll get back to Mark within the next 20 minutes, 30 minutes, no? We'll get back to you. Okay, pues si Dulce Masi Mark, no?
Sus Masi na
Esta, agulo kwe, the bireta tatia fanedos yes Mark. Agyan 20 minutos da tatsuli apa na presentasyon loki na bibis-bis gi Northern Marianas College live is the coverage gini ni Northern Marianas College. Alright? Okay, pues mala data na upanes din na sunido datang gingwagwe na no interes galom ipubliko kung itinituon tayo pawa na sabalo yafta diskuti siya loki tababay telefon. Representative Malum si Brother Henry in Florida no ulo tali ko siya utusabalo tababahay telefon para alright
clearing the land, we try to get rid of everything. But my personal preference is that we don't really have to get rid of everything because nature has already offered us many different varieties of grain arrays. And I observed there are, these 3 types of plants that are already naturally growing at my place. And so I don't really know the names of these plants. If you know, please let me know. I know the one in the middle is a really tiny pepper. They just grow everywhere. And on the left, it looks like the tomatillo. I don't know. I'm not sure if that is tomatillo. This one, it's gonna become, grow into a tree. But whenever I see those plants, I don't really chop them down because they add, at least they have ornamental function for me, and they also keep the soil covered. And I just keep cutting them. Well, if I do need to do some pruning, and these will also become natural mulch for me. At home, my biggest challenge with land management is grass and tanga. So I pay a lot of attention to mulching, and I already have some good mulch materials lying around, and so I don't have to you purchase so much from the store. I realized I have some coconut seedlings. I've planted them all across the space. Not for the coconuts, but for the leaves. And the coconut leaves, once they turn brown, and I'm just gonna cut them and put it on the ground, it becomes mulch. And Dieffenbachia, I think that's the name of this plant. And this leaf grows really fast, and I also use this as a mulch. If I plant some smaller ornamentals, I put the leaves around, so that it's really preventing the grass from growing. And coconuts are also a good mulching material. And this plant, I think many of you already have it at home. And this is similar to banana leaves. You just keep cutting it and put it on ground, and it will grow really fast. So I try to maximize the use of natural mulch at home. Another major functional plant that I have, I'm not sure because Lek gave me a few cuttings of this, and now it's been growing, and it's covering a large area of the ground. So this is also one solution to cover your empty soil. So we know that it's very important to have your soil covered. One is that we have all the heat during the daytime. You want to make sure the soil temperature does not go too high. So you have to have something on top. But when I grow, this grows really nicely. I think it's tropical spinach. What's the name of this plant? Do you know?
Spinach, I don't know.
Some kind of spinach. It grows fast, and I can eat it and stir fry and put it in the soup. So it's edible, but I prefer it to just crawl on the ground so that it's covering my soil. So it's a really functional plant. And this part of the land next to my agroforestry, I call this a coconut grave because there used to be a huge coconut tree, and all the saplings were just growing. And now, because I've cut down the trees, the canopy kind of opens up, and the sunlight has intensified, and I have more coconuts growing. I'm just waiting for them to grow taller so that I can keep cutting the leaves so that I can mulch the area. So again, mulching is a big deal for me. I do some home composting with 2 sources of materials from my own home. One is I always have the grass clippings, and when I just cut it manually. I don't really have a machine. When I cut it, I make sure that I put all the clippings inside a container, and I just put it outside. So whenever it rains and with the sunlight, it's really quickly converting the grass into soil over time. Of course, you have to be patient. I try to just don't look at it and just put it in the garden and forget about it. I turn maybe every few weeks, and so quickly you'll be able to fill 1 plastic pot, and that is already enough for you to grow something in. And the other source of my home composting is my kitchen waste. So all the produce that I don't use for my cooking, I put it in the bucket on my kitchen counter, and I collect my waste and just dump it outside in a very big container with the lid. So that's it. I make sure there is some kind of ventilation, and when it's the rainy season, I just maybe leave the container half so that the rain can go in, and then the water and the daylight is really helping my kitchen waste to turn into compost. This is one example I've collected for this 1 year result. I put everything in a tire. Perhaps I shouldn't be doing this because there could be toxic things from the tire. But for now, I'm not gonna use this for any edible, but just for ornamental things. And this is already, I think 90% done compost just from my kitchen waste. You can already see there's some eggshells around, but I can already use this. Again, you have to let it, wait for some time. It's very expensive to buy compost here, and you can order it from Amazon or a local store, but I think it's just better to have something that you can produce. This is my last slide. I want to just point out that there is commercial coconut core mulch available here, and I do purchase it sometimes. If it's a really small flat area, I'll use coconut mulch that I buy. But I also use my natural organic matter mulching from home. What I can see is that the commercial coconut core works, but over time it still cannot fully prevent small little grass from coming out. And because there are small particles, there's always that in between space that the small grass will emerge. And one way to manage this is you have to keep buying coconut core and putting all these additional layers, which is very expensive. But versus if I use natural organic matter and from my pruning, and it's much longer, it has leaves, and you've just put it. Even you have 4 or 5 ornamentals, after one pruning, they're able to cover a much larger area, and it's holding up really nicely, much better than commercial coconut core mulch. So these are my experiences, and thank you for your attention. I welcome any questions. Thank you.
A question in the back?
Yes.
So how many layers of mulch should we use to where there is still enough sunlight hitting the seed?
Oh, so you're assuming you want to ground sow, just spread the seed and then cover with mulch.
Yeah, I guess it. Yeah.
It depends on material of the mulch. Like for example, if I use for example, this is the mulch I applied to the agroforestry. This is only about 2 layers of big mature coconut leaves here. The good thing with coconut leaves is it's very long, but there's still some space in between the threads, and that will allow the seeds to come out. But still, it's covering the soil. But we can never have enough mulch, right? So I think initially I put 2 layers, but then later on I just keep adding things because these leaves do degrade, right? So they will appear and they will kind of decompose into soil, become soil itself. So we have to keep adding it. I think initially you can just apply a thin layer, but eventually you have to keep adding things. Yeah, Wilson?
Did you have to do anything with your compost to prevent rats from getting in there or anything like that?
So what I do is I have, a few tires. I put them on top of each other. And that is first to prevent my dogs from digging into the food, right? But when you have about this height of multiple layers of tires, the rats will not able to really climate going. So I have not had that problem. I know there are rats around in the jungle, but I don't really see them near the compost. And then you can have layers of tires, and they're still opening, but just try to find some material to cover it partially, at least. I think that will be all right. Yes.
Does the Mama Food Forest program go over like any natural remedies for deterring pests, like utilizing certain plants, or do they cover like natural recipes to deal with pests getting into your crop plots?
I don't remember them talking about it because it's more about growing than all the basic techniques. But I think myself have applied peppermint oil. Like there's a concentrate spray. You spray around. It could work, but never spray it directly on top of your plants because I've killed some eggplants at home. So yeah, I'm sure there are some natural remedies online, but I don't remember learning it directly.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Okay.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Dr.
What will be next?
Okay. If you need like a little intermission first.
Just give me like 2 minutes to start.
Sure thing. We're gonna go into a brief intermission and then we'll move on to our presentation from NMC's own Dr. Wilson Gall.
So how do you want to show
Have
this?
a presentation or something?
Yeah, I emailed it to you, Dr. Zia, for the manners class. I think it's PowerPoint format.
Oh, Dr. Yoshi, okay, but I can forward it to I'll try and get into the draft. Oh, thank you. Yeah. Which bean time is this?
Mongo bean. Mongo bean.
Okay, we'll wait for a few people to get back. So it's 10:19. Give it one more minute. It's 10:20. We can start there.
There's actually only 3 people I don't know. What's your name?
Kayla, I was in your biology
Oh my goodness, I'm sorry. How long is that?
2 semesters.
That's I recognize What's your name?
That's my wife, Charlotte.
Charlotte?
Yeah.
And what's your name? Chris.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been eyeing us. I'm like, maybe you know her, but I certainly didn't know the name.
Okay.
Now that we have everyone back, we'll be turning the floor over to NMC's biology professor, Dr. Wilson Gall.
Good. Okay, thank you. So, thank you for inviting me. I'm going to talk a little bit about plants and bacteria and nitrogen. And I'll kind of give you a full disclaimer. I'm not a plant person. I'm really not a bacteria person. Like, you're going to hear everything I know about bacteria in the next 20 minutes, and that's all I got. And I'm not really an agriculture person, so I'm certainly not an expert on this. But I'll tell you what I know, and I'll tell you a project my students have been doing this term, and hopefully at least that's a starting point. Quite possibly some of you will know more about these things than I do, which is great. What I want to talk about is the relationship that forms between bean and pea plants, legumes, and some bacteria called rhizobia. And the important thing here is nitrogen. So as you know, for any plant, including food crops, there are a couple nutrients that are really key: nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. These are a really big deal. When you buy fertilizer, you're buying it mostly for those three things. And I really want to focus on the nitrogen, because there is kind of another source of nitrogen that is not a purchased fertilizer. You can get it from compost, certainly. That's getting the nitrogen out of the plants that you've tossed in that compost, basically, so you're reusing that nitrogen. There's also a lot of nitrogen in the air. And the awkward thing is that nitrogen in the air is not usable. It's not in a form that we can really do anything with. Hi. So the nitrogen in the air, there's a lot of it. 80% of this air that we breathe is nitrogen, but we can't use it. Plants can't really get it. They can't use it in any way. They have no way to kind of capture that. But there's a few organisms that are able to get that nitrogen out of the air. And there are some bacteria that are able to do this. So very conveniently for us, some plants will form relationships with these bacteria. And so I just want to kind of briefly describe that process to you, and then we'll talk about kind of the practical aspects of it. So beans and peas, these plants in this family, what they will do is, these bacteria called the rhizobia, they're often in the soil, just kind of like hanging out in the soil. When a bean or a pea plant is growing and it finds one of these bacteria and it comes in contact with it, the plant will actually grow a little, what we call a nodule. It's a little ball. And the bacteria will kind of live inside that little ball. You can kind of see some little nodules illustrated there. So I just pulled up this is a mung bean, a mango that I have at home. I'm going to pass these around so you can look. There are some little nodules on the roots. So they're tiny little white dots. And the way you can tell it from like a pebble or a piece of dirt is if you just push on it, they're a little squishy, like slightly spongy. So those tiny little white blobs, those are nodules. And that's a place where this plant has grown a little home for a bacteria, basically, and the bacteria live in that nodule. The bacteria then are able to capture nitrogen out of the air, and they turn that into forms that are more usable by the plant, ammonia and ammonium. And so what this means for the plant is it's got like an automatic built-in fertilizer, where these bacteria are catching nitrogen from the air, turning it into these more usable nitrogen chemicals. And then the bacteria will release some of that nitrogen, and the plant root gets to absorb that right away. So what this means, if we're sort of tracing the path of the nitrogen on this diagram here, we've got nitrogen in the air, that air gets down into the soil, the bacteria capture that nitrogen out of the air and release it into the plant root. And then that nitrogen gets used for all of the things that plants use nitrogen for. Like there's a little bit of nitrogen in chlorophyll, which is the green thing. Plant needs nitrogen to make chlorophyll. So this nitrogen gets passed all throughout the plant to grow leaves, to grow roots, to grow stem, to grow fruit, whatever. This is well and good for the beans and the peas. It means they have a free fertilizer. But this is also useful to the gardeners, because if you want to grow a plant that does not capture nitrogen, that does not form this relationship with bacteria, you need to provide nitrogen to that plant. You could do it by buying a fertilizer or composting, but also if you have grown a bean or a pea plant, and then you let that plant die and decompose in your soil, very much like the mulching that Dr. Yunzi was talking about, all of the nitrogen that's in that plant that had been captured by those bacteria, that's in that dead plant, and when that decomposes, that nitrogen will be released into the soil, and then the next plant that you put in there is able to use that nitrogen. So what people will often do is they will grow beans and peas for a season. And then they'll just kind of leave those dead plants there, maybe till that back into the soil, let it decompose in the soil, and then the next season they'll plant something else, like a corn or a tomato or whatever else you want to grow. And that second crop gets to use the nitrogen that the beans and the peas caught. And you can alternate like that. So the cover crops that Dr. Yunzin showed, a couple reasons for cover crops. One is to prevent soil erosion, but the other is you're hoping, if you plant a bean or a pea as a cover crop, you're hoping it's going to find bacteria, form this relationship, and then add nitrogen into the soil. That's one of the purposes of cover crops. So what I did with my students this year is we did some experiments to see if we could get this to happen. Right? This relationship between the plant and the bacteria, it's not automatic. So first of all, the bacteria have to be there. Secondly, it has to be the right type of bacteria. It's a little bit of a special relationship. Not every plant will make a relationship with every bacteria. So you need the right bacteria that matches up well with the plant. And then there's some other environmental considerations too. Part of this relationship is that the bacteria are catching nitrogen, and they're giving some of that to the plant, which is a great deal for the plant. What the plant does in return is it feeds sugar to the bacteria. So the plant is able to produce sugar in its leaves through photosynthesis, right? It catches sunlight energy, it builds carbohydrates and sugars. It will send those sugars down the roots of the bacteria. This will cause the bacteria to grow more and catch more nitrogen, and the bacteria will give nitrogen to the plant. So it's really an exchange. The plant is buying nitrogen from the bacteria by paying sugar. But that's a cost for the plant. If the plant didn't give that sugar to the bacteria, it could do something. So in some conditions, the plant should not do that. If there's already a lot of nitrogen in the soil, for example, the plant might say, I don't need any more nitrogen. There's no point feeding sugar to these bacteria, and so it will not form the relationship. So it's not automatic. So what my students and I tried is we just wanted to see if we could get this relationship to happen. And what we really did not know is whether these bacteria are already present in our soil or not. So we bought what's called an inoculant, and I have an example of it here. So this is just, we bought this off Amazon. Dr. Yunzi actually helped me buy this because I bought some, but it didn't arrive for like months. And Dr. Yunzi ordered the same thing and it arrived in a week, so I don't know why it came so fast. But anyway, here it is. This is a mix of multiple different kinds of bacteria. And so the experiment that my students did is very simple. We got some mango beans, some mung beans just from the grocery store. And half of the beans we just planted in the soil. And the other half we planted in the soil after mixing this bacteria inoculant with them. And then we let these grow for about 2 months, and now my students are just starting to pull them up. So what we're finding is that when we put the inoculant in, when we added bacteria, those mango beans are successfully forming partnerships with these bacteria. So that tells us, number one, this species of bacteria works with those beans. And number two, we're getting more nodules, those little balls on the roots. There's more of them when we added the inoculant. There are a small number of nodules on some of the beans, even in the normal soil with no inoculant. I had a student who just took soil from right outside her house, and there's a few nodules. So there's a little bit of this bacteria out there, at least in her yard. Every place will be different. You'd have to test your own soil. But one of the interesting things, let me show you a photo. Right, this is, one of my students took this. Let me try to explain this. This is through a microscope. These are two little nodules. The left nodule is from a plant that my student treated with the inoculant, so we added bacteria. The right photo is from a plant that was not inoculated. It was planted in the soil. Both these plants formed nodules. The inoculated plant formed a lot more. But what my student did when she pulled this up about a week ago, she cut the nodules in half. So we're looking at kind of like a cut open view here. And you'll see the nodule from the inoculated plant is pink. What this tells us is the pink color is actually from a protein that's similar to human hemoglobin that latches oxygen. And these particular bacteria like a low oxygen environment. So the plant is putting this hemoglobin in there. The hemoglobin is catching oxygen to kind of protect the bacteria from the oxygen, basically. In this one, without the pink color, that's not happening. So what this tells us is that the bacteria are more active in this pink nodule. This is a really healthy, active nodule. The bacteria are working hard here. In this one, not so much. For whatever reason, the bacteria are not as active, and this is probably not catching as much nitrogen. There's a couple of reasons it could be. It could be that that species of bacteria just is not as active, but also this will change throughout the life cycle of the plant. It could be that the plant has decided it does not need to keep investing in that relationship, or whatever the reason is. But we are getting really nice pink nodules, and a lot of them off the plants that we inoculated. So the bacteria are forming a relationship, catching nitrogen and giving that nitrogen to the plant. So yeah, Ali Castro is the student who took this photo. And also just like, thank you, Dr. Yunzi, because we're still using the inoculant. So we bought this inoculant. It's pretty cheap. This was less than $20 off Amazon. And we inoculated at least 300 mango bean seeds with this, and we still have plenty left. So this is probably well over 1,000 seeds worth of inoculant for 15 or 20 bucks. I have tried a couple different versions too, and this one seems to be working the best of the inoculants that I've tried, at least on mango beans. But for every plant, it would be different. So you do need to kind of test the inoculant and make sure it's a match for your plant. From what I understand, I don't know a lot, I think you should be able to see the nodules within about a month or 6 weeks. If the relationship is going to happen, you'll see it. You can pull up a plant and check after 4 or 6 weeks. So really the key points here that I guess I'd like you to remember is that there's some free fertilizer available. It's in the air, it's nitrogen. And one way to get this free fertilizer is to grow beans or peas and convince them to make this relationship with the bacteria. Most beans or peas will do this. It's just a matter of finding the right bacteria for that bean or pea plant. When you're buying an inoculant, you can now buy a mix, right? Because I said it has to be the right bacteria on the right plant. So if you have a plant like mango beans and you don't really know what bacteria you need, this is just like a general purpose garden mix. It says pea, vetch, and lentil. So this has multiple bacteria species, and you're just kind of hoping that one of these will be a good match. So that's what I would recommend, some sort of garden mix with multiple different things. You can also buy more specialized inoculants, like you can buy an inoculant specifically for peanut plants or specifically for soy, but I think the mix is a good bet. For this to work out well, to get the most benefit, after that bean plant dies, you have to let it decompose in the soil, right? Because all the nitrogen is in all these leaves and in the roots and stuff. So you have to leave this in your plot, let this decompose, and then your next batch of plants that you grow there will be getting the nitrogen that is currently in the plant. My students have found that there's some rhizobia in the soil on Saipan already, so if you plant a bean or a pea like your cover crop, if you just scatter the seeds, they might already be forming this relationship, but we found a lot more of this relationship and healthier, pinker nodules if we inoculated. So it'd probably be better to inoculate those cover crop seeds and then plant them. NMC Crease can recommend good cover crop legumes, but also the mango beans seem to grow quite well. They do fine in the sun. Like this is just growing in a pot on my porch. It did quite well, quite easily. So that would be one option also.
One bag like that is good for how big?
One bag? Over 1,000 mango bean plants. So a lot. And the way we inoculate it is, this is a fine powder. And so what I do is I just soak the mango bean in water for a minute or two to get the outside wet, and then drop the mango bean into the powder and shake it around, and that puts the powder all over the seed. And then you just plant the seed. So if you're planting a large batch, you could just put some inoculant in a plastic bag, pour in 100 seeds, mix it around so that the seeds get coated, and then put that in the ground. And that way you're kind of, as soon as the seed sprouts, it's guaranteed that that root will kind of hit that bacteria right away. I can illustrate that later if anyone wants to see it. Yeah. Any other questions?
You just ground them the seed straight away, or is it better to go in and like little seed pods?
It probably depends on your situation. Like if it's super hot and sunny, maybe they wouldn't survive if you just put the seeds out directly. But honestly, I think the simpler the better, right? So like if you're able to just plant directly where it's going to grow, that's easiest. Because there's always for me, when I try to start something small and transplant it, I tend to break it when I transplant it and it just dies. But yeah, you might be better than that. Go ahead.
Could you talk about your porch growing?
Yeah.
Like you use containers. So did you grow that for your class, or it's like gardening hobby?
No, this is just kind of an aisle run for my class. And this plant was huge. I already had some mango bean pods. I just tore off a small piece of the plant. It's in a 1 gallon pot, so it's not a very big pot. This is producing beans, starting to produce bean pod this long in 6 weeks or something. I haven't let it mature. And it's, my porch gets pretty hot. These seem to, once you get, for the mango beans, once they get past the seedling stage, they seem to do pretty well in sun and they can dry out a little. And actually, it seems like if they're too wet, they have trouble. So this works well on a really sunny, hot porch in a 1 gallon pot.
Did you let it, like when it dies, you let it to die naturally, or can you kill it?
Either, you could do either. If you kill it too soon, it won't have caught much nitrogen. It takes a month for the nodules to start forming, and then the longer you let this go and let it kind of capture nitrogen, the more nitrogen there'll be in the plant. But as the plant gets into the very later stages of its life, where it's really setting seeds and growing the beans, it will cut off that relationship. And then it's not going to be capturing nitrogen so much. But I think most people let it grow for a good while, 2 or 3 months. And then you could let it die naturally, or you could kill it. Either way.
Is there, not really familiar with inoculant, but if it can be purchased on Amazon, is there anything natural based that can be used as an inoculant?
So if, these bacteria are just out there in the soil. When we're buying these are just normal soil bacteria. It's just that the company has collected some of the ones that partner best with plants, basically. And so they're kind of giving you it's like buying seeds of a plant that grows really well. It's kind of like the best version of that plant for gardening. If you already have soil, like if you have soil where there's been peas or beans growing in there in the past couple of years, it's very likely these bacteria are already in the soil. So you might not need to inoculate. But the easy way to do it is just plant a bean and pull it up after 6 weeks. If you see nodules and they're pink, you're probably good to go. If you don't see nodules, or if the nodules are kind of like brown, then it means either there's no bacteria or maybe the bacteria aren't so good, and then it might be worth.
So does that also mean that if there is enough bacteria in the soil, that's healthy soil? How do we know if the soil is healthy or not?
There's a couple things that would matter. So part of soil health is the amount of nutrients, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. And the bacteria will help with that, excuse me, because they add nitrogen. So this will help make the soil healthier from a nitrogen perspective. Of course, there's other issues, how much water there is, how well it drains. There's diseases that might be in the soil. So I'm not an agriculture expert, but I think if you grow the same plant in that soil year after year after year after year, you're going to get diseases. And so whatever diseases kind of specialize on that plant. So that's one advantage of some sort of a rotation where you grow, beans one year, and then the next year you're growing a different crop in that soil. That way, whatever diseases specialize on beans, they maybe will not hurt your pepper plant or whatever. So then you grow pepper. Then once the soil fills up with pepper plant diseases, then you switch back to beans that aren't hurt by that. Thank you.
Any more questions? All right. Thank you, Dr. Wong.
I'm going to leave this inoculant here just in case anyone wants to look at it or take photos or whatever.
Nice. Thank you, Dr. Wilson.
Other questions?
Yes. So, okay. So our next presentation for this workshop is going to be a panel in which we're going to have certain local farmers in the community and local, like just general food producers in the community, give little presentations on their backgrounds and talk about their experiences working food in our land. We have Senor Joe Castro from the CAFPA Farmers Association here with us today. And that will start around 11 o'clock. So for now, if you need to, warm up or just stretch your legs a bit, you're welcome to take. We're going to take a quick little break until the panel begins, like sometime around 11 o'clock.
Please have some chicken in the back.
I'm going to give my auntie a call. She should be here with Nelus, and then she will also be part of that.
All right. Natapansin mo na sa man-break Pogo natural resource class. And sige mo na
How's it so far, Senor Glenn?
all right, very good presentation. Very good presentation. Just one quick question, Mark. The
Yes.
mango beans that they were referring to, is that going to be planted to the ground in the soil?
Oh,
Is
those
that how
mango
they're gonna?
beans, yes, they're planted directly into the soil. And then,
Okay, I got a question. Is the what's his name?
for Dr. Wilson?
Yes.
Oh, yes, let
Is
me
it
let me
there?
go get him.
Okay. Just a quick question.
Mark, are we live on YouTube?
This is Senor Glenn Manglonia. He runs the Marianas Agupa Talkshow. Senor Glenn, these are the manners advisors, Ms. Karim Johnston and Dr. Yunzi Zhang.
Okay. Hello. Hold on for a sec. Let me get you in the background.
Yeah, Dr. Gauss. But I'll get him to you as soon as he's finished.
Okay. All right.
Hello, Dr. Gall. We have a question from Senor Glenn Manglonia. He's the president of the Cagman Farmers Association, and he runs the Marianas Agupa Talkshow. He has a question for you on the beans you mentioned. Hello.
Yes, thank you for that. That's a very informative presentation. Quick question on the beans, the mango beans. We've seen mango sprouts, right? The bean sprouts. I know that you didn't touch on that. Is there a way that the process of producing quality bean sprouts instead of putting the seeds in the ground?
Yeah, so I'm not an expert on that by any means, but yes, you can just buy mango beans like from the grocery store, and you can make your own bean sprouts from that. So one way to do that would be to just make a wet paper towel, like use good drinking water, wet paper towel, and put the mango beans in that, and fold that over, and you could put that in a Ziploc bag, but don't seal it, just to keep it a little bit wet, but leave it open. And those mango beans will sprout pretty quickly in 2 days or 3 days, and you can grow your own sprouts that way.
Okay,
But you can look at videos on YouTube would probably show how to do that. It's definitely possible to do at home.
and that can be marketed in a week, right?
Yes, that would be very quick. The sprouts
Okay.
would be ready to eat very quickly.
Mhm. All right. Anyway, so are you now stationed here at the Northern Marianas College?
I teach biology at Northern Marianas College. I've been here about 3 years. Yeah.
3 years already. All right.
Yeah.
Very good. And I'm encouraging our next generation of farmers to be ready to take over the production in the CNMI, because we've seen the issues facing our community. Whenever there's a shortage in eggs and whatnot, we gotta start producing, encouraging our people, young people, to produce food locally.
Definitely.
And
Yeah, we've got some students in my biology class are doing their kind of independent projects in the NMC student garden. So they're getting some hands-on practice. It's very good.
yeah, we're featuring you guys today on the radio, 100.3, and we're also streaming to our communities on island and even those listening off island. And we're very happy to feature our next generation of farmers. And I know Mark has been helping our group too with the farmers in Cagman. And I really appreciate your participation, Doc. And we have another presenter there. I forgot her name.
Dr. Yunzi presented just before me. Dr. Yunzi.
Oh, all right. And please extend our appreciation to her and to all your department there, helping our students.
Yes, of course. Thank you very much. This is Dr. Yunzi.
Hello.
Oh, hello, doctor. How are you? Are you teaching? What class are you teaching?
Oh, so I'm not agriculture or natural science expert. I'm here primarily teaching tourism and hospitality. I'm with the School of Business at NMC. But what I presented is about my personal gardening experience in the tropical climate. I am not from here, but I'm trying to learn how to adapt to the local climate.
That is very important, that you're teaching tourism.
Yes.
Tourism,
So
right?
we are going through some curriculum and teaching change with our tourism courses. I'm very inspired by the works of the local farmers and NMC Crees. So my ideology is to try to combine agriculture, gardening, and tourism. So there's already an industry of agritourism, and in my class, I try to teach students about different ideas to utilize natural resources and agricultural lands and introduce the community to our tourism markets.
Perfect. That is a great. And every Saturday we feature our farmers at the Garapan Fishing Base, and we have two production displays there. Okay, we display actual fruits from the farm, and we also display value added from the farm. So that's something that maybe you might want to let your student know, that if they want to try, see how the processes of products are being made into edible items, processed food, fresh, that are displayed. And it's in Garapan Fishing Base every Saturday from 6 to sometimes 11 o'clock in the morning. So
Yes.
please share that.
Yes, I definitely know that there is the market at the fishing base, and actually farmers markets are a great example of agritourism. Yes, anybody is welcome to visit the market, and that embodies the community spirit of our local farmers. And the farmers market itself is a tourism attraction. So I'm really happy that there is such effort organized by the local farmers association.
Yes. Do you see? Is there a way? Let me put it this way: is there a way of increasing? We've seen cruise liners coming into Saipan, but for some reason, some of they have this tour guides bus that they take to a specific area. I wonder if there's a way that we can allow the tourists disembarking the cruise liner to just get themselves a taxi going to different places, because if you control the movement of the tourists, some of the benefits are not directly passed around, shared among the vendors, among the community. They go directly to a specific store, and I think that's something that maybe we could address in your class uh, with the partners. I don't know how are you being invited to our tourism bureau, the authority, or how are you helping out in other than being a teacher, being an instructor?
Well, I think what you just talked about is a part of the structural systematic challenge here that
Yes,
our
yes,
tourism marketing is in in almost full control in the hands of the establishment of the tourism authorities. And I mean, this is a classic example, not just here, but worldwide. Is especially in the smaller rural destinations where the commercial activities of tourism don't necessarily directly benefit the local community, and that is often observed. I think there is tremendous potential here to have bottom up grassroots movement to revitalize the way we promote tourism here. Right now, it's sort of a top down approach where you have the government officials and the major commercial hotel players leading the market and driving the whole ship and leaving the common people on the side. So what I'm trying to promote with our students is to think about ways to organize grassroots efforts from the ground up. That is kind of strategic mentality change with our thinking. I think
yes,
I do agree
thank you.
with your perspective. And
Yes, thank you for recognizing that, Doc. I've seen a couple of areas like Nassau in the Caribbean, right, or somewhere in the Virgin Island, where they have the buses and the taxi outside of the port. So when they disembark on a cruise liner, like 2,000 people, they walk outside and they select which bus they want. Okay, this bus is going to the market. This bus is going to the store. So everybody, instead of controlling the movement of everyone, okay, we're gonna go to this store. Everybody goes to this store. So it's like the way it's done here can be improved. In other words, and there's enough ample room at the port where they can line up different destination. This bus is going to the market. This bus is going to the market. This bus is going to shopping. So when the customer comes out and walk out, they can select. Instead of being driven to a specific place because it's more like syndicated operated. So I'm glad that you can see the concerns of the local vendors. That how
yes.
come they're not going out to this place? They only buzz them to one specific area.
hmm I think we need to change the way we, define tourism resources. So oftentimes people think, oh, I visit a destination, I must visit the hotels. Yes, it's nice to always have the, very comfortable accommodation options. Nice to have the swimming pools. But the tourism resources right now are kind of in the hands of a few big players. And I don't want to say it's a monopoly, but it's definitely not, we're not growing the pie, right? So
Yes.
we have to make the pie bigger so that the little players and the common people can participate. So
Yes.
um, so that is a main challenge, of what I see. And actually, many of my students do agree with us on this. And who is in control of the tourism resources and who has the voice? I do appreciate your channel here, and we need more of such platforms
Yes.
to the local voice to be heard.
And we're streaming. We're not only that you're on live on the radio, 100.3. Our program is in vernacular, in our language. We speak English sometimes if our guests do not understand or do not speak our language. So we speak in English too, but more or less our program is in our language, in our mother tongue. And we also stream to all over the world. So we're concerned about all these things that's happening and affecting our community. And we just that's why we made a point to air this today, because the next generation of farmers is with Mark and those students there. And our Farmers Association is made up of about 45 commercial farmers in Kangman. And of course, some members are outside of in the villages, but if our people becomes, or our members cannot produce anymore, then we will rely on the next generation of farmers. And that's why it's important for me to feature Mark and your class there. You're a guest speaker, and the students are participating, and those students who are listening out in the community to look at this option, because farming is one of the most honorable occupation. Think about it. We are the one producing the food. It doesn't matter if it's produced in California, but farmers in general are one of the most honorable occupation. Because we produce the food. If those doctors in the hospital do not eat, they cannot perform their work. So we play a very crucial role.
Yes, I think in my field, in our hospitality teaching, we have a food and beverage course this semester, and without farmers who produce food, we can't have all these nice banquets and restaurants. We definitely recognize that, and the other thing with tourism, and the connection between tourism and agriculture community is how to kind of develop new recipes and food options and foodstuffs with locally sourced ingredients. And we know we heavily rely on food imports. And how can we integrate our local farming products into our foodways and our culinary training? And that is very important as well.
Yes.
So our event right now is having an intermission, but in a few minutes we'll have a panel discussion with some members from the Farmers Association.
Perfect. Yes, we have our secretary there.
Yes,
Okay.
I have some questions, and we have some audience here, and I'm sure we'll have a very nice discussion. And we hope your audience stay online and for that panel discussion.
Okay. All right. So thank you so much, and we'll stay focused on the broadcasting the next presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for speaking with our advisor, Senor. We'll be beginning our panel pretty soon, and it seems like we all have our panelists here. So we'll start setting that up and getting ready for the next presentation.
All right, Mark. Thank you.
Let me just make sure the whole thing is in frame. Let me not do that.
Okay. You have a flyer?
Yeah.
Just post the flyer. Do you have a file that we can open and make the photos?
Oh, like bigger.
Yeah, or you can just download and then we can open it on a separate.
Yeah.
Open them. You just sign in. Good. This is going on.
Okay. So Mark, well, that concludes our broadcast today. Well, what do you call this? Our radio Tomorrow news ends at 11 o'clock. But thank you again, and we hope see Secretary Joe Castro would represent the Farmers Association in the best way possible to encourage and entice our future farmers to participate. Thank you so much. All right. Adios.
Thank you, Glenn. Take care. Okay. So now we're going to begin our panel now. So let's have our panelists up at the 4 chairs up at the front.
Okay. Para todo dos tali maniku wini si Jus Mase tayo siguela gatete esta no ala datapan sige mo nagwini the bonito mga i presentasyon i natural resource next generation of farmers di Northern Marianas College Banita pa ako na Sabado ini na eskwela gatete dan para todos lo que mang kung binigay programan Marianas Agupa donc nous na si Jus Mase in felicita todo do samjo adios da tapan sige mo na winigi islata tana zamuna na hininggeta yesay na otro semana ay selebrasyon da Holy Week mga gan siyempre mapto tempo may para ta celebra talo Holy Thursday, Good Friday, because Easter Sunday. Alright? Zamala. Isa dito fanudo ta Tulesti. Buenas. Okay. Okay, si Jus Mase. Okay, hold on, don't hang up. Okay, si Jus Mase talo para turudo samjo. Wow, si Glenn H. Magnolia nagwayza. Inafa maulit ng pas para turudo samjo. Adios. Huway za hamjo estaw to Sabalo. Yes, where are you now? Okay, Joten, Dandan, supermarket, no? Okay, just stay in the front there. I can see you. Okay, I'll be there maybe in about not less than 10 minutes. Less than 10 minutes, okay? Okay, just go there. Bye.